Hey everybody, it's your Sam and I'm here with another video. Today I want to go over something that is not going to be much fun, but hopefully it will still be helpful to you. I kind of want to go over how you can still be creative, still be kind to yourself while dealing with grief. As most of you know, I lost my mom in August. I still tear up every time I talk about it. So here we go. I'm going to try to get through this video without crying. I've started this video several times. I just haven't really felt like it was a good time to finish it. I think I can finish it now, and I want to share my thoughts and some tips and tricks on how to be kind to yourself as a creative. A little bit of research that I've done, and from my experience being a creative and dealing with a lot of deaths, because death is inevitable, I've learned to kind of be either kind to myself or the exact opposite, where I push myself too hard too fast. The latter is actually what I've done with Mom's death. The latter is something that I felt like I needed to do as an adult, and with the responsibilities of having a job and having bills to pay, and in being a creative and having goals that I have set for myself and needing to fulfill those goals in order to feel like I've accomplished something. If I don't fulfill those goals, then I am less than. Some of the research that I've done states that creativity is the essential response to grief. That is a quote from Dr. Henry Saden. In the past, when I've had family members die, or friends die, or friends of the family die, I've usually turned to writing, and it's been really cathartic. It's been really helpful. With my grandparents and mom, it was entirely different. It was like the creative part of my brain just shut down, and I couldn't do anything but just, read every now and then. I started so many books, but I have yet to finish them because they just didn't interest me at the time because of the grief. I also just binge watched a lot of shows, and I let my brain just take over and beat myself up. Don't do that. That is the opposite of what you need to do. During grief and sadness, the left part of the brain, which is usually in control of the emotions of joy and hope and all the positive energies that we possess for ourselves, kind of gets put on the back burner. It slowly shuts down. And the right brain, which is in control of calculations, the boring stuff, and also anxiety. The right brain controls a lot of the things with anxiety. It can go into overdrive, but usually it just keeps chugging along like it normally does. But without the left brain being active, you think that it's become more prevalent. You think that your anxiety, your depression, and all the negative thoughts and everything have become more prevalent, when they might not have, but maybe they have, because you just don't see the joy, you don't see the light, you don't see the hope around you. So that is perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal to have all the negativity, to have all the anxiety, to have moments where you just shut down and you stare at a wall, to have moments where you beat yourself up. The thing is, you've got to focus on yourself, and you have to learn what you need in order to stay healthy for yourself. Okay, this can come from trying to nurture your creativity as best as you can, doing something for 5 minutes, write down a sentence, write down 2 sentences, think of a new idea to write, maybe even create a social media post. Maybe not one where you have to write a lot, but maybe just something cute, like you post a picture of a puppy. That's still creative, and that can still help you kind of wake up your left brain to where the right brain is not fully in control and you're not going through all the negativity and all the anxiety in everything constantly. You have a little bit of joy in there. Another thing that helps is always try to think of the good time and focus on the memories with the person that you have lost, and not the moments that you had with them that were the very last moments, unless they were part of the good memories too. And think of those around you that were there at the last moment, because they're the ones that are going through the same thing you are. They're the ones that you can talk to, and you need to talk. You may not think that you need to, but you need, even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just a little text, you need to talk. Another thing that can kind of degrade ourselves into the whole negativity and the whole shutting down thing and not really dealing with our grief is because most of us have jobs. And most jobs are like, okay, you have 3 days and then you're expected to come back to work and you are going to be fine, right? Luckily, I had a little bit of grace with my job, and I actually took another day. I actually called out on a day that I was scheduled after having been back for, I think, a week, because I just couldn't. I couldn't that day. And yeah, I got some grief over it because, corporate America, but I took it. I took it anyway. And sometimes you just have to take. Coming from a person who is a giver, it hurts to take at first. It really does. You have the moment where you're kicking yourself for taking time for yourself. But then at some point in time, you are going to realize that you're worth it and that you need it and that it's okay. And I'm here to tell you that it's okay. Another thing to focus on is all things come to an end. That's the reason why you're dealing with death and grief right now, or whenever you were dealing with grief. It's inevitable. It's life. And this too will end. Your grief will be there, but it'll get a little bit easier because your left brain is going to wake up again. It's going to start functioning again. And you're going to have that mix of joy and hope and positivity cycled back into your system. Another researcher, Roger Beatty, says that when emotions that are at odds with one another are experienced simultaneously, the brain becomes open to new connections that spark creativity. And that, my friends, is where a lot of our artists that we have witnessed have worked through their grief. Look at the pyramids of Giza. They're tombs, but they are beautiful. The painters, they painted through their grief, the blue period. And some writers too. Writers write memoirs, and a lot of that is working through their grief. So you too can work through your grief. You too can be creative through your grief. With that being said, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. I'm just going to toss some out there. And some of these I wish I had taken to heart earlier, but I'm working through it. We're getting better. So tip number 1, figure out the bare minimum that you can do to where you can feel at least okay for your day. Whether that's getting up out of bed, taking a shower, eating something, and then going back to bed. Or that is writing a short story. Or that is writing down 2 new ideas to work on later because you don't have the energy to write them at that moment. Figure out the bare minimum that you can do for a day, and it feels okay. And then do that for 3 or 4 days. Same thing for 3 or 4 days. And be okay with those 3 or 4 days, because it'll get easier. It'll start the process. Number 2, it kind of bleeds in with number 1, but just do something, any little thing. The next one is self-care, whether that is, like I said, getting up and taking a shower and actually eating, or whether that is having someone book you an appointment to get your nails done or your hair done, or just taking you out to eat, or bringing you your favorite food from your favorite restaurant. Something to do with self-care. Something to do that will make you feel loved and cared for and somewhat human again. Number 3 is probably the most important thing. Stop beating yourself up. Take those negative thoughts and just tell them to go where the sun don't shine, because you don't need them. Stop beating yourself up. Tip number 5, try something new. Whether it's drawing stick figures, even though you might not have, the ability to draw straight lines like me. My straight lines are very crooked or angular or something. Or whether that's trying a new genre, whether that is just finding a new place to sit and reflect, taking up gardening, buy a succulent or something. They're really easy to take care of, and you are focusing on something other than the grief, and it's something that actually needs your love, but it doesn't need that much of it in case you don't have enough to share. Tip number 6, get inspiration from others. There are a lot of other YouTubers out there like me who share their inspiration for their works. They share some tidbits of their works, and it's great. It shows that the world can go on, and it shows that creativity is still out there. So that might inspire you to be okay with yourself and be okay with creating too. Tip number 7, always carry a notebook. And this goes even without grief. If you are any kind of artist, you need something with you, whether it's your phone and you have a note-taking ability on your phone, or a way to draw on your phone, or you have a notebook, you have a sketch pad. You need to have something with you at all times, because sometimes in grief the left brain just sparks for a little bit and you get a new idea, and you need to write that down, because then the ugly little right brain is going to rear its head, and the anxiety and the depression is going to gnaw away at that idea until you forget it. So always have a notebook. And the last tip that I have is find a new creative space. Sometimes all you need is just a new place to be creative, a new place to just be, and that will help you. I used to walk around our land back home, and I would find new places to sit for a little while and listen to the songbirds, see if I could catch a glimpse of a fox or maybe even a bear. I was mostly hoping for deer, but every now and then you don't really get what you wish for in the wild. Just something new, whether it's a new coffee shop, whether it's taking a new trail that you have near you, or if it's just a new park in a different part of the city that you go to. Just try to find something new. Enough of the negativity and enough of the sadness, but I do hope that this helps someone out there. Just know that I'm here if you ever need to talk, and I love you guys. And if you are going through grief or depression or anxiety, just know that you're not alone. We are here for each other, and we are here to help you. Remember to breathe. As always, be kind to one another, stay safe, keep being creative, and keep writing. And I will see you next time.